you are capable of developing your own resilience and relationship management capability. So just looking at some of the detail then, if you can move to the next slide, Suzanne. The thing about the way we interact, the thing about the engagement, is that there is so much in human communication. It's a very rich medium. Only 7% of words convey the emotions. 55% of physiology, body language, gives us much more of a nuance of what other people are feeling and how much in rapport we are with other people. 38% is the tonality of the voice. So the words are small in terms of conveying emotion. We're not talking about concepts or knowledge. This is the kind of percentages of body language in terms of us being able to pick up on the emotions of others and indeed tune into our own sort of self-awareness. So part of what we're looking at here is you identifying the gestures, look, skin tone, and any other complex signals that are going on and the expressions and so on of those around you. And we'll talk about how that can be developed if it's an area that you feel you are not in strength at the moment. You can go to the next slide, Suzanne. Thank you. So the building blocks then are self-awareness first, being able to identify the 100% that's going on for you, your stance, the tonality of your voice, the level of relaxation, the level of energy and tension that you're holding in your body, the emotions, the individual emotions you're feeling, being emotionally literate and able to be in tune with those, and also use that to drive your self-management, your self-control, your self-confidence, the way you present to people. It's really useful to identify what's the most important capability in your market in order to sell. I mean, are the products involved, or are people buying you? I think even if you're selling them products, they buy you if it's that kind of business. So if I just give as an example, coaching and consulting, the kind of things that I would be involved at a performance improvement for myself is in co-creating a relationship with someone, establishing trust and intimacy with the client, and my presence when I'm around them, when I'm with them face to face or on the phone or even via email. Relationship building can happen in emails. I'd be looking at communicating effectively, active listening, really well-controlled listening with my full attention, not sitting waiting for my next opportunity to talk, but giving them a total focus and attention. And mental agility in terms of powerful questioning and thinking about questions that will open up and explore the situation for the client. And get very direct communication, so checking and summarizing and getting clarity. So that's all around the capability of communicating effectively. And then because it's coaching and consultancy that I'm talking about, then I also need to make sure that I'm facilitating learning and achieving results. So creating the awareness in myself and others about the situation, about themselves, about the tipping points for their success. Designing actions together, joint diagnosis, planning and goal setting, managing progress and accountability across the customer-supplier interface. So those are the kind of things, capabilities in self-awareness, self-management and its application that's important for a people business like coaching and consultancy. So one of the things that we need to do is to look at what's important for you, what's the application of self-awareness and self-management in your line of work, in your particular role. So can we go on to the next slide, please? So this diagram is actually based on a photograph that a lovely young lieutenant sent me from one of the ships that goes down to Antarctica, and it is a real iceberg. And the analogy I want to draw here in terms of human communications is that 10% of it's on the surface and is therefore overt and obvious and tangible, and 90% is below the surface and is about things that are more around heart than head. So it's things like motivators and really driving reward history and so on, how we've been rewarded in the past and how that sets us up for the way we behave in the future. What are social norms? What's the diversity issues, different cultural icons and signs? What are the relationships and the preferred styles that fit in that particular culture? What are the loyalties? You know, where do those loyalties come from in the past? And you know, the real underlying behaviours and motivation of individuals. And on the surface, in businesses, we talk about formal rewards and structures and reporting lines and decision making and formal communication and cascades and so on. We talk about processes and services and procedures and products. But the totality, the full scope of human communications is the 100%. It's the 10% above the water and the 90% below. And if you are in a business where you have to bring the revenue in through the door, then understanding that 100%, recognising, accepting it's going on all the time in you and in the people you're dealing with, then that's part of the key to success. Can we have a look at the next slide? Thank you. So, modelling success, Chris Cardell is a very successful marketeer, and he has a number of things to say in terms of us thinking about what customers buy and why they buy. And it's important to get inside their perceptions of their needs and their wants. Customers often need some help, some facilitation in working through to actually what their underlying root cause is to the issues, so that you can then work through to solutions. So he also focuses on a number of key commercial points, and that is that the majority of people do not buy on price, even if they're actually saying that they do and they have procurement people in the equation that you have to deal with. It is actually a huge myth that people buy on price, but it's very important. Once you understand it, it can be a real key to success. And I've had a couple of examples myself in my own life this week, things I've been working on for 3 years in one case and 2 years in another that have finally come to fruition. The other things that we need to think about is that our top 20% of customers, we should be paying attention to them and looking at ways that we can create more sustainable and profitable relationships, how we can actually drive mutual success. So we do need to have good management information to look at what we can best do for them and how we can drive next year's perception of excellence in terms of our service excellence with them. That we are losing a fortune if we don't mine that top 20%, because they are essentially the ones that have got the need that fits what we do. So if you can go on to the next slide, please, Suzanne.
Okay, Jill, I was just going to say if anyone has any questions at this point before we move on, to please let us know, and Jill could answer maybe a couple of questions shortly before we move to the next section after this slide. Okay, no questions coming in at the moment, Jill, but if you'd like to carry on, and obviously if anything does come up, please enter them in the questions panel and we can answer them towards the end of the presentation. Okay, back to you, Jill.
Thanks very much, Suzanne. So essentially just summarising really where we've been and where we're actually going to move to, we are looking at all of the essential ingredients ingredients in building relationships and gaining really effective communication so that we get inside the client's agenda even when they don't have that clarity in our initial meetings and interactions with them. So looking at our skills, what's important in our particular daily lives and application, and then looking at ways that you can easily facilitate your own learning and gaining those results and monitoring those results. So that's essentially what we're getting at, really simple tools that you can set up and use to gain that success in business insights. Okay, if we want to move on to the next slide. Okay, so what do we know about great salespeople? We've all bought and sold stuff in our lives, even if it's selling a concept or it's buying a sandwich for lunch. We've all had sales experiences, and we can draw on that. One of the key things is to think about somebody who's been a great role model for you. They don't necessarily have to be a salesperson, but they may be somebody who's been very influential in your life, and they took some time out to make you feel good in their presence and to make you feel that they were interested and there was some sort of thing that moved you. You felt that there were some characteristics that they demonstrated that you'd quite like to have as strengths. It could be somebody way back in school, somebody in your family or your parents' friends, or some individual that you've come to know through business of different kinds. So what I want you to think about and start to take notes on now is, are there any characteristics that you think are particularly important for selling successfully and creating sustainable, profitable relationships in your line of work? So have a pause for thought there and think about those characteristics. And what do you have to do more of, or less of, or stop doing, or start doing to be more successful? So take some time now. Is there anybody that you think is a great role model for what you do in your daily life? So they are attuned in mind, body, heart and spirit. You feel attuned in their presence. They inspire you through hope, through vision. They're creative and they share their initiatives. And sharing initiatives creates innovation. And they create a resonance in you. You resonate in them. You feel good in their presence. So take a few seconds and think about somebody now. What sort of characteristics do you see in those people? If you move on to the next slide now. Thank you. So I want you to start writing down those characteristics for the role model. It's okay if it's knowledgeable, if you're saying that they're knowledgeable people and you admire how knowledgeable and intelligent they come across. That's a valuable quality. We all need to understand our business. We need to understand our client's business. But there's some other kind of attributes that are more in the emotional intelligence vein, more visionary individuals who share and illuminate a future that you want to be part of. They build alliances. You feel heard in their presence, so they actively listen to you. They don't interrupt your conversations. You feel you have their full study, their full confidence in you. So think about those kind of characteristics and think about your clientele, your target market. How can you create sustainable, profitable relationships with those people? What is it that's going to make a difference? And then just start to categorize them into 4 quadrants: doing more of, doing less of, stop doing, or start doing to be more successful. If you go on to the next slide, please.